Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Let's Talk Assassin's Creed, your number one podcast for all things Assassin's Creed. I'm your glamorous co-host, Josh, joined as ever by your other glamorous co-host, Declan. Today, we're continuing our deep dive into the series, and we're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed Revelations. I don't know about you, Declan, but I think this is going to be an interesting one.
I do too, because all my regular viewers are probably tuning in thinking, what the hell is this show? I don't recognize that voice. That is just what I wanted. I want people to tune in tonight and be like, who is that guy? Am I in the right podcast?
Well, my first intro, I thought it was okay, you know?
It was good. I enjoyed it, and I'll be asking you to do more intros, but I have told nobody I'm getting you to do an intro, so it's confused the crap out of some members, probably.
We pulled the old switcheroo on them.
Good old switcheroo. So yes, Revelations, a game that I love, but I also have... I don't have a camera, so you can't see, but I'm doing the mixed emoji sign.
Yeah, this is a very mixed bag for me, this one. It's my review will not come across as kind. I'm just forewarning, that is a warning to you and everyone listening. I will be pulling no punches with this one today.
And if you listen closely, you can hear the sharpening of the pitchforks and the lighting of the torches. Someone's about to diss on Revelations.
Well, wouldn't be the first mob I've had to deal with.
Well, should we start with the kind or the less kind?
Why don't you kick us off in any way you see fit, and I will jump in where needed.
So, for me, I have a lot of praise and a bit of dishearten for Revelations. It's, out of all the games, Revelations and Assassin's Creed 3 are similar in the fact of, I love what they did, I love the story, but some of the way they pulled off the gameplay, I didn't enjoy. With Revelations, it's the same issue as Brotherhood, too short. It literally was bigged up as this big blowout for Ezio, and we got this epic story that I enjoyed, and I would play again just for the story, but it felt like it was condensed. I wanted like more to it, something fleshier, but it wasn't there. And the combat was the same as Brotherhood and 2 and 1, so I can't complain. The hook blade was better for the verticality, and I quite enjoyed. No longer do we have to suffer. We can't reach that, because you think, hang on a minute, we got a hook blade. We can reach it. And then they had that weird tower defense game, was it?
Yeah.
I can't remember it. No clue what that was, and I did not enjoy it. I'm going to be honest, I did not enjoy the tower defense thing. I didn't understand it or what the hell I was doing. I just bought it mashed.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this game was a big kind of step forwards in terms of experimentation. And it's the only way a series can evolve and grow is through experimentation. Although Brotherhood did fall flat in areas, they experimented with new features, and that's whilst not everything was great. Everything in Brotherhood that they experimented with had a sense of purpose that fleshed out the universe. That's purpose I felt was missing in Revelations. I thought the hook blade was an interesting addition until after a few hours, when the persistent clang of the hook blade smashing against the wall makes you really miss just the quiet climbing and taking a bit longer to get up there.
Just like a ting.
Yeah.
Ting.
It was great at first, but after a while, I was kind of like, I think I've got an ear infection.
I think I could hear the pitchforks getting sharper.
Yeah.
Eggs.
I mean, you mentioned the tower defense game. That's for me is, and it's for me was an example in this game that I don't know what the purpose was with that.
To me,
it's it's slow, and for someone like Ubisoft, really uninventive. There are any number of free, more exciting tower defense games that I can go and play on the internet.
and sorry, I've got an itch then. Sorry, carry on.
Just taking an already defined genre and putting the Assassin's Creed skin on it is not sufficient game design. It's lazy game design. It was not different enough from other tower defense games for me to want to play it, and for me also serve no real purpose. Considering you can fail it and just jump over the wall and kill the captain that's taking your tower.
There is that.
That's my bit on tower defense. What's your opinion on tower defense?
To be honest, I'm not going to lie. I didn't like it. I really wish I could never do it. But at the same time, I loved it more of, and I only know this experience now because of age, but XCOM, right? The idea of now of having an Assassin's Creed spin-off in XCOM style, you know how they did the Rebellion mobile game?
Yeah.
That to me is something they tried to do with the tower defense, and I think it would work really cool. Imagine this strategy Assassin's Creed game where you place your assassins, but in Revelations, it just didn't fit. It was okay, but I don't understand what I was doing, and so many times I failed it for not knowing what I was doing. I just felt like, can I not have this as a side game to replay a master? Because if it was a side game, fully fleshed out, a lot to do, I think they could have made an epic standalone strategy Assassin's Creed without it needing to be in Revelations.
Yeah, I agree. Or even if they'd have released a free companion mobile game that was this tower defense game just on mobile, I'd have been fine with that. Because if I download an Assassin's Creed tower defense game on my phone, I've downloaded that because I want to play an Assassin's Creed tower defense game. I didn't buy Assassin's Creed Revelations because I wanted to play an Assassin's Creed tower defense game.
I can totally get you there. And I think the best thing about the tower defense, if we look at it from a very, very, very obscure angle, get your Sherlock Holmes magnifying glass, it actually helped evolve the series. Now, hear me out. The tower defense was always about defending your tower, and that didn't work. And then you had the settlements in Free with the Homestead, and now Valhalla is getting settlements where you defend it, which now is reminiscent of Revelations tower defense, but this time it's more fleshed out. So I think they might be taking the idea of defending your base, but making it more fleshed out and actually enjoyable. So from a very obscure angle, it may be a blessing in disguise.
I don't know. Look, I mean, we could probably say that, but I think base defense has been a thing that we've seen done, well in games. If this new experience in Valhalla is because of the failed experience in Revelations, then I'm not going to complain. If it's better, it's better. I'll enjoy it more, and it'll have. The thing is, with that, it feels like it serves more of a purpose. That feels like something that actually happens.
Yeah.
You're a Viking raiding clan. Not all Vikings are united under one banner. Obviously,
They're not just going to knock on your door and ask for a cup of sugar.
You're just as likely to get raided by someone else than you are to raid them. So it feels more in keeping with the plot, certainly.
So why don't we just, scoot over away from this weird tower defense mechanic that I think we can all agree kind of feels mini shoehorned into the series, because they've got to evolve, but sometimes evolution comes at a price, and that has to be one of the biggest prices of Revelations, was they could have used that time to flesh out the missions.
Yeah.
Because what they had for that game was just a really odd story at first. The idea of you hunting down memories of Altair, that kind of seems odd, because, in a simulation of a simulation, Inception style.
Yeah.
But it worked, which kind of tripped me out, and it still trips me out to this day.
For me, the kind of Altair flashbacks were great, and probably one of my favourite parts of the game. The problem was those individual segments, for me, were too short to make up for the rest of it.
So it comes down to the fine fact that they had built this epic saga for Ezio, and it was working, but it was just the length that was falling them short.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the way I look at this game, looking back on it, is, it's Ezio's last appearance in, as the main protagonist in the series, and the game appropriately feels like a bit of a farewell tour. Just unfortunately, I think like a rock band that's past their prime, the reality is often disappointing.
And I will agree that, I try not to diss too hard on Revelations, because I do have very fond memories of, sitting at home saying goodbye to Ezio, who I had enjoyed and did have a few flaws. But one of my memories is a mission, and I think it's in an underground city or something. I'm trying to remember because it's ages ago. But I think that mission takes, about 20 minutes to complete?
Yeah.
And for a mission in Assassin's Creed just to take 20 minutes, and missions back then were memories, for one memory to take 20 minutes is just kind of unfair.
Yeah.
They needed Ezio to have this big, fleshed out story, but I think its shortcomings actually proved a different point. And as we've seen it, as you may agree, Assassin's Creed worked a lot better when you just give them a single narrative game to work on, because you can flesh it out a lot better, unless it's free.
Yeah. There was just... It just felt like there was too much going on for any one part of it to be significantly memorable.
And it could have been more, I can't. I'm going to admit, guys, I haven't actually played Revelation since the week it came out. I beat it under 2 weeks, so I'm a bit rusty on my knowledge, and I've been watching walkthroughs. But I don't think you could really play through Altair's memories. I think they were just cutscenes, weren't there?
I think there were bits, but there were bits that you could play as well.
But they were very
short
and
they were not long enough.
And I think seeing how much skill they have, if we look at Origins, Curse of the Pharaohs, they were able to add maps inside of maps that were fully fleshed out with the afterlife. And I would have loved to see something like that with Revelations. Don't give us a big blowout, but a good 5-10 minute mission that you completely play as, and that leaves an impact on the story. Because Altair's story is one of the most deep stories I've read for Assassin's Creed. It's very weighty. It's not just a simple cocky person goes to assassin, becomes a mentor, dies in Revelation for steal his memories. It's loss, it's betrayal, it's love. And Revelations does capture that, but there could have been more. And I think we're just going to be using the word more. We should have a drinking game of how many times in these last two episodes have we said more?
Yeah, basically. I mean, back to the Altair segments. They were good. They're obviously not long enough, but they also helped to kind of strengthen this historic, metaphorical relationship between Altair and Ezio, but also the importance of what Ezio's trying to achieve in continuing on that work. And it does add a bit of flesh to those, even more flesh to those two characters, which is just let down by the execution of the story.
And I think that has to just be one of the shortcomings, because in a sense, I can quote you again, risk and reward. That's the idea of the Ezio trilogy. It was a risk they took, and was the reward worth it? Yes and no. Yes, because like you agreed, there was more fleshed out dialogue for Altair and Ezio. The actual way the creed is burned into history was more fleshed out, and that was amazing. The merge of history and reality, reality and fiction became blurred at times, with how Constantinople looked, how Rome looked. But like we said, the risk didn't get enough reward because it could have been more. Some people I've talked to do agree that Brotherhood feels like a DLC of 2, and Revelations just feels like a sequel. And for a trilogy, that's not how it should work. Each should have a lasting impact.
I think my overall feeling is that Ezio deserved better than this. I think, just something simple, like no kind of allies return from any of the previous games, which would have been a nice send-off. Instead we get allies who have either got zero personality and are on screen a lot, or are charming enough and have some good personality, but they don't get nearly enough screen time.
I think the only allies in Revelations I can really think of is his wife and Yasef with the hook blade meme, and that's about it.
And that's it was a big experiment, this game, and I don't think the last game in the Ezio trilogy was the time to experiment this much. Like we've met the bomb making. We'd seen variations in previous games, smoke bombs and stuff like that, but Ubisoft were clearly more excited about this than anyone else was in this game, which is a cool idea until you kind of scratch beneath the surface. There's no variety in it. There are so many different ingredients for bombs that are forced upon you at every turn. Anytime you open a chest, anytime you loot a dead body, guess what you're getting? You're getting bomb ingredients. And there's about 1 million bomb crafting stations everywhere you go. The problem is, ultimately, it all boils down to bomb go boom. Yeah.
Simple.
And the problem is, when open combat is as easy as it is, there was no practical use to take advantage of bombs.
Unless you mean.
That's not to say that the combat, yes, largely the same, but it's still simple and satisfying to chain kills together for as long as possible. With the one exception in this game, which was the Janissaries. But for me, they were the first enemy in an Assassin's Creed game where you seriously consider avoiding them. Once you learn their patterns, they become relatively easy to take down. But the fact that you had to learn some patterns to make your life easier was a huge step in the right direction, combat-wise.
I may have to slightly disagree on that point. First disagreement. Oh my god, it's terrifying. And mainly for the fact you are right. Like, it's a double-edged sword, this. You are right. Learning the patterns was the best idea, because Origins combat, we have to watching footing, enemies' patterns is better for the series. But the problem back then is with how fluid the game was with chain killing, and then you got these enemies that were a bit more trickier to chain kill. You had to dodge them or hit them in certain points. It did sometimes knock off the fluidity that you had of combat. Combat was so easy of just mashing, counter, attack, counter, attack. When you get this big enemy that you probably have to break defense, dodge before you can kill them, at first it does put off the fluidity if you've got 6 or 7 enemies behind you that are just weaklings.
Oh no, I get
sense.
that entirely. My main point is that's the kind of experimentation I like.
Yeah, where you can get enemy variety.
Has a purpose. It's obviously going to have a knock-on effect to combat going forward. Perhaps not the right time to introduce it, but I don't mind it.
I think it was just quite annoying when you got into combat and you were doing so smooth, you felt like a true assassin. And one of them douches show up. Pardon my French, I'm a bit sleepy today. One of them idiots show up, and you're just like, great, now my entire fluidity chain is broken.
Yeah,
and
it was frustrating. Many times I just decided to run away and replan how I could do this mission without bumping into them. But when you did finally get through it and manage to kill them, it was an incredibly satisfying thing.
I think one of the things I quite remember about them, and it is another little complaint about this game, because I didn't learn this mechanic till near the end, is if you had a double-handed axe, you could throw it. I did not learn this mechanic till near the end. I was annoyed. And I remember meeting one of them people and messing around with the controls, and lo and behold, I launched an axe in his face. I was howling. I was like, why did I not know this from the start? That was amazing, just to, sneak up on a few people, stab them, and then just launch an axe at this one dude. It was just so much fun, and it's the idea of sneaky, launch.
Get back in your box.
It just made me. I think once I learned it, I'm not going to lie, I purposely went back to replay the game, knowing I could throw axes. And every fight now, I would literally purposely just carry the biggest axe with me, find a vantage point, just throw axes. The hitbox with them was terrible, so they might just hit the floor when I'm sure I aimed at your head, but there's just the joy of watching the axe soar in the air and thump.
Basically, yeah.
I was very childish.
I think we all were. we all secretly enjoyed, not even secretly, outwardly enjoyed it. Probably still would if I went back and played it again, which I'm not going to do. which probably sums up how I feel about it. I'd probably go back and play Assassin's Creed 1. I'd definitely go back and play Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood. This one sat on my shelf. No thanks.
I probably would for nostalgia. I think enough time's gone past where I don't actually fully remember, because I burnt myself out on Assassin's Creed. I kid you not, I got the game on releases and I just hammered them for 2 weeks straight, learning everything I could about them. And I got so burnt out that I just totally forgot, because when the next game came out, there's me again, burning straight into it.
Yeah, I don't know, it's difficult. Obviously, we got to see Animus Island in this game as well.
Which was cool.
Yeah, the island was cool. It was very kind of era appropriate. Kind of, a few years after riding the wave of, The Matrix and things like that. It was quite a cool concept. It was an interesting change of pace. Obviously, collecting your data fragments, and then you had the different puzzles in first person to solve, which was cool. It was interesting. This is probably the game where I lost all hope in Desmond.
And that does bring us on a notice. Now, you mentioned Desmond, but I'll do the notice after we've done the reviews.
Yeah,
Just hold that
I mean,
thought.
here's what my feelings were for Desmond after this game. Summed up, the only input I wanted from Desmond was him to appear at the beginning and go, "Hi everyone, I'm about to jump into my magical mystery memory machine and jump over a load of rooftops and kill a load of bad guys. Have fun." And then I never want to hear from you again. I'm at my wit's end with you, Desmond. That's all I want.
That's brilliant.
On an absolute side
So-
note, is Magical Mystery Memory Machine a better name than Animus?
Yes, and if I ever go down the route of merchandise, I swear to God, I'm going to get a T-shirt with that imprinted on it and start selling it to people.
Let's do it. The Magical Mystery
So-
Memory Machine.
Yes. So it's that time then. Fondest memories and your review score. Oh.
I think the Altair segments were great for me. It really strengthened the kind of bond between Altair and Ezio, in terms of lore and their mission, and were probably some of the most memorable parts of the game for me. What about you?
For me, even though it was short, I did enjoy the story. I really liked the blend of Altair and Ezio and how it all tied together. And I do think it should have been more fleshed out, but it was the very, very last part where he refuses to pick up the Apple of Eden and talks to Desmond was just perfect ending. It was just literally the full stop. He didn't know what this precursor artifacts was. He didn't know the future, but his mission was done. He can go be a husband, a partner to the librarian woman that he fell in love with, and that was just magic.
There you go. So it's what we're all here for then. Score time.
Get your pitchforks ready, people.
I'll let you go first.
What did the Brotherhood last week? Was it 3.5?
Unbelievably.
Then I'm gonna have to stick with Brotherhood's 3.5. I can't fault the story, but I can fault that it just didn't feel long enough, and some mechanics weren't explained to the end, because if you looked at my search history back then, you would have seen tons of links to how to make bombs in Revelations. I still don't know how to do it. And that's my only criticism for the game.
You don't need to do it.
Well,
It's pointless.
Well, I never knew this, okay?
Oh, my go then.
Yeah.
It is, for me, a 2.5 out of 5. I feel like it wasn't the send-off Ezio deserved. It was equally disappointed because, and it's probably a bit my fault that I allowed myself to get sucked into the pre-release marketing. I thought it was one of the best game marketing campaigns I'd seen. Every trailer was spot on, hit the mark, and made me need this game more than anything in the world. And as I mentioned earlier, the reality is often disappointing. It showed some promise in some areas, but on the whole, just wasn't a memorable experience. It was the first time Ubisoft added new features that felt like they had no purpose and detracted from the overall experience. And even worse for me was it felt like Ubisoft had started treating Assassin's Creed like a brand rather than an idea. And it showed for me in this game.
I can get behind that.
So, like the pitchforks, people, I'm waiting.
That would give Revelations 6. That would give Revelations a 6, which is the lowest score we've got. But as ever, and I don't think I should have to repeat this, but from some emails I should, these are our personal opinions. We are not professional critics. We are not going to, if our reviews do not change your experience of the game. So please, can you stop sending me emails about how you don't like my scores, please? And
likewise, if you
to
want to
address
open
another
a discussion about elements where you think we're wrong, and we're more than happy to always have a conversation about Assassin's Creed. This isn't about disagreeing for the sake of disagreeing. I'm always happy. We're both happy to hear other people's viewpoints and have a open and honest and sensible discussion about things. But there's no need to light pitchforks.
Yes, no toxicity. And to address a concern that has been floating around for the past 2 emails, which is why I should have spoke to you first, Josh, so I apologise. We have been focused heavily on the game, and the consensus is people want to know why we've not spoke about the modern day story. And the reason for that is when we finish week 11 with Odyssey, we are going to do a special episode straight afterwards, not on the same day, but the next week. Don't panic, I'm not keeping you here forever. We're going to do a whole recap. We're going to basically talk from the whole story from 1 to Odyssey and our thoughts on how it's played out. So it'll be different to how we're doing it now, where we describe individual facts about the game. It'll literally just be a whole show about the story so far and what we think about it and how it can improve or disprove. So don't let you pitchforks that we've not talked about modern day story yet. It's coming, but it's to the end. I just don't think it's a valuable time to keep switching between game talk and modern story at this point. Let's save it for the end. We can do a huge roundup for you guys. So when Valhalla drops, you've got an episode where you can listen to the entire story from start to Odyssey,
and honestly, I think because
so
it plays such a big part, I think the modern day stuff probably deserves just its own episode. So
I agree. So that'll be at the end. So it's all we've got time for tonight, and next week will be Assassin's Creed 3. A game that I truly think only got better with a remaster, but sadly we're not reviewing the remaster. Which is a shame because I'm going to be honest now, for next week's episode comes out, I will be reviewing it a lot higher because of the remaster. But as we're not doing the remaster, I'll have to lower it the same score. I give it back in 2012.
Also, we mentioned we're not professional critics. Did you? I won't name who it was, but I just thought it was interesting when doing some research before this episode. Professional critic website called this game the best game in the Assassin's Creed franchise. So don't listen to professional critics all the time either.
Yes, because at the end of the day, opinions are opinions, and they're always welcome. I am the most talkative person for Assassin's Creed, and this podcast is a fan service to the games, which means if you have a fan theory, a fan question, or even just want to talk about what I've discussed, please email me at assassinscreedletstalk@gmail.com or pop over to Twitter at letcreed. I'm happy for a healthy discussion, but any toxicity, I'll show you the door. Requesta in pace. Probably blew that with Italian, didn't I?
You're lucky we're not here to review your Italian.
I failed. Yikes. It's going to go down in the magic mystery machine.
The magic mystery memory machine.
Right, it's a bit longer than usual, but I will catch you all next week. Signing off from me and